Hi everyone and welcome to another tutorial from Colour with Claire. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial that has been requested by quite a few of you for a very long time, and that is the tutorial for fur. Now I've got to say that this is the way that I colour fur, and it's not incredibly realistic, it's not the best, most professional artistic depiction of fur that you will ever see. But it's the way that I do it, and it creates a really nice texture to the page, and I think it's really effective. So this isn't by all means the only or the best way to do fur, this is just my way. So yesterday I posted this work in progress from Sagor or Sagner, which is this book here, and a lot of you commented and messaged me asking for a tutorial on how to create the fur on this cute little mouse. So that's what I'm going to be doing for you today. So first of all, I've had a look through the book and I've found another little mouse for us to work on. Excuse me. And I have chosen the colours that I used on the original mouse that I just showed you, so that we can try and emulate that as best as possible. So you will need Sienna brown, Goldenrod, yellow ochre and Canary Yellow. Now if you're not using Prismacolors, you just need to try and match these colours as best you can. So we have a very reddish brown, we have a golden colour, then an ochre colour and then a bright yellow. What you'll also need are some greys. Now for this one that I did originally, I used French greys, and the colours of French grey that I used were French grey 50%, 20% and 10%. So I'm just going to get those out now so that we have them ready. So 50%, 20% and 10%. Here we go. Sorry, I didn't have those ready. Okay, so put those to the side for now and we'll get started. So we're going to start off with our darkest of the colours, which is the Sienna brown. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see exactly what we're doing. Now you will need your pencils to be as sharp as you can possibly get them, because we really want to create those textured strokes of fur, and for that you need a really sharp pencil. So we're going to start off on the top half of this mouse's head, which is going to be the brown half, and then we'll do the greys underneath just to create a little bit of interest rather than doing it all in one colour. Now we're going to start in this bottom corner, and all I am doing is very, very simply little cross-hatching flicks of the pencil, and I'm also rotating the pencil all the time to keep that very pointed edge of the pencil, because as you carry on colouring with the pencil, obviously it gets blunt, but if you keep rotating it very slightly as you're colouring, you will consistently have that very sharp edge that you need. Now, as with all of my tutorials, this is super simple, so you do not need any kind of skills to do this. It's also really fast, and I think it's really effective, but obviously I need you to tell me in the comments what you think. But as for technique wise, it literally is just getting your strokes crossing over one another. So I'm doing sort of diagonal strokes like this, and then at the same time going over them with opposite diagonal strokes. So it is like a diagonal cross hatch. I'm going to do this all the way to the end of his nose. Just keep cross hatching, keep rotating the pencil. Very, very simple technique. And you can be as messy as you like, really, because that's the kind of texture we're trying to create. And this is absolutely perfect as well for teddy bear fur. It's got that kind of fuzzy look to it. So if you need to colour any teddy bears or soft toys in your colouring, this is a perfect fur technique. So once you have done the sort of bottom of this line, or the bottom of your mouse face with your Sienna brown, you'll move on to the next colour, which is Goldenrod. And we're doing exactly the same thing, but we're just going into the edge of this Sienna brown so we can do a bit of a blend. and continuing that rotation and that cross hatching all the way up. So you do go over the edge of the sienna brown a little bit just to get the blend in there, and just continue it all the way up where you've put your sienna brown. So it's very much like you would use 3 or 4 coloured pencils to create a graduated blend anyway, but instead of making it really smooth and seamless, we are doing the exact opposite. So moving on to the next colour now, which is the yellow ochre. And again, over the edge of the goldenrod, keep rotating that pencil, keeping your strokes nice and sharp and defined. There's not too much difference between the goldenrod and the ochre, but it does just serve as a nice transitional colour to get to that very bright canary yellow. Now you don't have to use that yellow, you might think it's a bit too garish, but I like to have as much contrast with highlights and shadows as possible, so I like to go from really dark to quite light. So moving on now to the canary yellow and just finishing off at the top. Don't worry as well if you go over the lines slightly, because that just gives it even more of a fur-like texture. If you're going over the lines, it looks like there's pieces and strands of fur that are, you know, going here, there and everywhere, and that's kind of what you want. So you can kind of go over the canary yellow a bit with your yellow ochre, just to not make it look so solid. You can also bring back in your sienna brown and just move some flicks up a little bit, and sort of here and there within the other colours, just so that it doesn't look so one colour then another then another. We're trying to just sort of blend it out a little bit so that the fur looks a bit more realistic. Okay, so onto the ear here. I'm just going to do exactly the same thing with the sienna brown. I'm taking it up to around about the halfway mark. And then I'll just do the same here as well. So again, we're starting from the bottom of the back of this ear, doing all of our little flicks and rotations, and you may need to resharpen if it's getting slightly dull, because it's really important that the lines look quite crisp. And then again with our goldenrod, and the yellow ochre. So I'm not leaving too much room for the canary yellow because I don't want that to be the main focus of the fur. That's more just like a highlight colour. Just put some of this yellow ochre just here as well. And then with the Canary Yellow, just finishing off at the top for the highlight. So as you can see at the moment, this does look quite linear, and that is why we come back in with the dark brown, just to make it look a bit messier, to be honest, make it look a little bit more like the fur is all entwined with one another and it's not so much of a line. But at the same time, we still have a gradation of colour for highlights, so it does give interest to the piece as well. Now while we're here, we might as well just do his little paws, and we're going to start exactly the same way. So sienna brown around the bottom of the paws. Remember, it doesn't matter if you go out of the lines, in fact it's probably best that you do, just to give a very furry teddy bear look to it, but again that is up to your preference. And with the Goldenrod, the yellow ochre, and finally your Canary Yellow. And then quickly just go back over with that sienna brown, adding in some flicks here and there. Okay, so we've basically done all of the brown bits of the mouse. I'm now going to move on to these French greys that I told you about. Now it doesn't have to be French grey, it can be any greys that you've got, warm or cool or French, whatever. It's just more important that you've got a gradation of colour. So if you've got a dark grey, a medium grey and a light grey, that's perfect. I'm just going to quickly sharpen these. So we've got them nice and sharp for those strokes. And it is exactly the same technique again. So you take your darkest grey and start at the bottom, or any place where you think your subject would be in the most shadow. But it's just easier for me to start here at the bottom and work my way up. You're also going to take it underneath the chin sort of the mouse at the bottom. And again, just rotating the pencil and doing these very messy cross-hatching strokes all the way up. Now we're going to go in with the next colour, which is the 20% French grey. And again, as we did before, just going straight over the edge of the grey that we've just put down and extending it outwards. It really couldn't be any simpler than this, because you don't have to be precise or neat and tidy at all. And then with the final grey, the 10% French grey, I'm going in to fill in the rest. You can also, again, come back in with that darkest grey and just bring some strokes out here and there, if you wish. And when you've messed about with it a little bit to your liking, you will be complete with the fur. So I really hope that you like the way that that's come out. I'm just going to give him little bits of pink on his eye, nose and ear just to finish him off a little bit. So let's grab pink and blush pink and also the white as well. So we've got 2 different shades of pink. Just going to sharpen them, cover your ears. Might be better if I prepared all of my pencils before the tutorial, but I don't always remember to do things like that. So we're going to start off with our lightest pink, which is the blush pink. And I am just doing a very nice scumbled, very light coating of the blush pink inside his little ear. I'm leaving a little bit of white on the edge underneath as well. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the nose, just fill it in a little bit. Again, you don't have to be precise or anything, just be quite rough. So I'm leaving a little bit of a white highlight in the middle of the eye there. And then with your darker pink, I'm just going to very lightly define a curve inside this ear. And then blend it out. Here I'm just going to do a bit of the darker pink on the inside of the nose and on the very corners of the eyes. Now we're going back in with the blush pink and trying to blend out that curve even more. Same again here, just blending the darker pink so it doesn't look so harsh. But I am just going to redefine with the dark pink that curve just a little bit more. Now with your white pencil, we're just going to go over everything. And make it nice and soft, just as you can imagine a little mouse's ear would be. Leaving the white on the edge just really increases the highlight and the 3D kind of look. You don't have to do it, it's just something that I prefer to do, is to always leave a bit of white on everything. Don't forget to use your horizontal and vertical blending technique that I showed you in the watermelon video. So if you've gone one way with your pink, go the other way with your next colour, and it'll always make it more seamless. So that is basically how I coloured my little mouse in Sagor or Sagner, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and that you've got something from it. Please do let me know in the comments, but the absolute best thing you can do for me to show your appreciation is to click that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, which you have to do if you haven't already, because you're not going to miss any of my future videos. And yeah, just let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.